All right, I'm going to tell you something that everybody knows here on This Bite Me Short. You gotta keep up with your boat. There's going to be corrosion, there's salt water, there's going to be issues. All right, so we all know that, right? But where and how often? Man, do I got the guy for you. Y'all know that face right there. That is JT Koshy here at the boatyard in Kemah. Let's start with that, man. Like everybody knows, I have certain habits that I do, you know, starting down here, I do some things, but let's start right here where you are. And that's something that a lot of people tend to forget about.
Yeah, I mean, trolling motor power. Mm-hmm. So we've done a short going over the whole trolling motor system from battery, wire, circuit breaker to the trolling motor. Yeah. And here we have a trolling motor. You'll go to your boat one day or go be out on the water and notice your trolling motor's not getting any power.
Oh yeah. No power. Are you talking about anybody in particular?
I got a phone call from John this weekend and he was running into that situation. So we went through the steps. Check the batteries, check the circuit breaker, check your connections. If everything looks good, you want to point the finger right here at one of these two. This is your plug and receptacle for the trolling motor. What happens is all the electrical system is located in the boat. It's protected, it's covered. This is the main area that's exposed to a lot of salt water. When it stays outside, this is a demo boat we have here, you end up with corrosion on these contact points.
Yeah.
You've got contact points here that fit into the receptacle here. And what can happen is corrosion will start to eat away at the wire internally here. You can open these plugs up with a simple Phillips head screwdriver and maybe watch a YouTube video, maybe something like this.
Again, I feel like you're talking about me.
Yeah, a little bit. Open it up and check the condition of the wire. If the wire is, say, like this, and you've got strands of wire in here, eventually corrosion will start to eat away strands of wire where it completely fills up that cross section of wire. Then no power can pass through. And a lot of times that'll either happen on this side or this side.
Yeah.
I would check both of these. I would say probably give them a little check and a look over, maybe once every 6 months, once a year.
Yeah.
And something that'll help is dielectric grease on both ends of the connection.
Dielectric grease.
Yeah, it'll give you a longer time. Dielectric grease is an electronic safe grease that makes almost like a barrier around metal surfaces that are subject to a lot of corrosion.
Right.
Another thing is trailer components, anywhere that has any sort of hardware piece, hardware. The number one thing you can do, it sounds so obvious, as wash it as soon as possible. When you get out of the water, rinse it with fresh water at minimum as soon as possible. Sounds like a duh kind of thing, but it'll save you a ton of work.
Do you lubricate those?
Sometimes. So you can buy like a sprayable lubricant.
Like a Bow-Shield T9, like I use.
T9, Corrosion X, that also makes sort of a barrier around hardware pieces. And that'll help, but definitely fresh water is the best and easiest way to get the salt off of there to prevent corrosion.
Yeah. Now, some of this stuff is, as we move back here, is unavoidable. As I mentioned at the top, it's salt water, etc. But a lot of times, this is where you see some issues. Right here, maybe right there. Is that even not avoidable, as I said? But is there something that you can do to kind of mitigate it?
Well, the biggest thing is, like I said, just cleaning as soon as possible. At the end of the day, it's all stainless. What happens is manufacturers, as they get bigger and bigger and bigger, it's hard to get real 3/16 pure stainless. Some have a combination of metals that are more subject to corrosion. But at the end of the day, even 3/16 stainless, if you let salt water sit on it, it will corrode and rust and show wear. And some of that is just periodic maintenance.
No, well, I'm glad you brought that. That's what I was going to say next. Tell me if I was just wasting my time or if it's a good thing to do. About once every, I would say 3 to 6 months, I would go around my boat and tighten every single screw. Because a lot of times if they get a little loose, there's a little more water going in there, etc. Was I wasting my time?
You're not really wasting your time. That's a good thing to check. How often would you actually get some tightened down?
Almost every time. Not on every latch, not on every piece of hardware.
Yeah.
But there would be one latch where like maybe 2 or 3 are loose, and I just tightened them.
Yeah, what that'll do is having that gap there can sometimes lead water, salt water especially, to stick in there.
Yeah.
And it'll corrode the piece even faster where you can't wash it out. So I don't think think you're wasting your time at all.
Yeah.
Just, you know, physically
Yeah.
with a screwdriver and socket,
Yeah.
and with washing, inspect all your hardware. Anything stainless, anything metal hardware on your boat, you should inspect.
Now let's get to the motor here. I tend to leave this almost untouched, other than rinsed, because it already has a lot of lubricant in there, and we got to take it to the professionals like at the boatyard. But am I missing something? What needs to be done here?
That's correct. Same thing. It's mostly, this stuff is not hands-on nut and bolt check. This stuff is wash and keep clean to keep the corrosion away. A lot of this stuff, the paint on these engine brackets, the lower units, have a protective coating on them. Bob's, I'm sure, does something, but most of it is cleanliness. Yeah, I can tell a boat that comes in with a lot of corrosion, the boat looks pretty rough as well, like the owner doesn't take care. I have boats that come in that are 15 years old and don't have huge signs of corrosion all in this area. And they use on salt water, they're just very diligent with their cleaning.
Right. All right, there you go. A little helpful hint from our guy JT Koshy here at the boatyard. This is a nice little piranha boat that we were looking at, and of course he's got all kinds of others for you as well. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and this YouTube channel.